ChatGPT said. The officer thought she could humiliate a black man in uniform without any repercussions, until the general made one call that brought the Pentagon straight to her doorstep. It was meant to be nothing more than a brief pause in his journey. General Carlton D. Hayes had traveled this stretch of Highway 280 between Albany and Americus, Georgia, countless times before. The curves, the long stretches of nothing but trees, the occasional small-town gas station with its dusty, solitary pump. None of it was new to him. He knew the landscape well. But today, his GPS had gone haywire after a recent update, so when he saw a gravel pull-off just past a faded green sign that read Ellaville for miles, he slowed down and came to a stop. He put the car in park and tapped his phone screen, military-grade encrypted, the kind that would shut down entirely if tampered with. His attire was simple, a plain polo and slacks, with no rank on display. His jacket, with its neat insignia stitched above the breast pocket, lay folded in the back seat. He didn't think he'd need it. 2 minutes, that's all he needed. But then came the sound of crunching gravel behind him. He glanced in the rearview mirror, and there they were. Cop car lights flashing, though no siren had sounded. A beat-up cruiser with faded lettering on the side that read, Schley County Sheriff. The driver's door swung open, revealing a tall woman with blonde hair tied in a bun. She stepped out, aviator sunglasses perched on her face, one hand resting on her holstered sidearm. She didn't approach slowly. No cautious, good afternoon. No request for license and registration, sir. No. She marched straight to the driver's side and tapped sharply on the window. Tap, tap, tap. Carlton lowered the window halfway. Afternoon, officer. What seems to be the problem? He asked, his voice calm. Pulled over to check my GPS, he replied. She squinted, looking past him and into the car. Where are you headed? He caught a glimpse of her name tag, Wilburn. Her voice wasn't curious. It was sharp, commanding. Control. Just correcting my route, he said calmly. Wilburn stepped back slightly and unclipped her holster. I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle. For checking my GPS? Carlton asked, raising an eyebrow. You're on private land, she snapped. This is a known area for illegal dumping. You fit the profile. The profile? He asked, his brow furrowed. She didn't answer, just took another step back, her hand fully resting on the grip of her weapon. Carlton exhaled through his nose, then slowly opened the door. He was used to being stared down, whether in Iraq, Bosnia, or even in Washington, D.C.'s conference rooms, surrounded by people who'd never worn the uniform. But this wasn't protocol. This wasn't proper. I'll step out, he said, his voice even. But I want to be clear. I've done nothing wrong. You're being uncooperative, she shot back. I've complied with every word you've said, he said. Wilburn walked him to the rear of the car. No backup, no body cam visible. Her radio crackled, but she didn't respond. She ordered him to place his hands on the trunk. Carlton hesitated. Ma'am, I'm a federal officer, he said, keeping his tone steady. My ID is inside my vehicle. Please allow me to retrieve it. I said hands on the trunk, she snapped. Without waiting for him to respond, she grabbed his arm and twisted it, slamming his palm against the warm metal of the trunk. She kicked his legs apart. He didn't resist. He didn't raise his voice. But softly he said, You're making a mistake. She didn't listen. From the road, a pickup slowed down. A woman in the passenger seat rolled down her window, just enough to hold up her phone. A teenager in the back was already filming. No one intervened, but they watched. There was something unsettling about the whole scene. The way the man didn't flinch, the way the officer seemed more eager to assert her power than ask questions. Wilburn was breathing hard, but it wasn't from physical effort, it was from adrenaline. But she didn't know who she was dealing with, not yet. Something was about to change, and it would start with a single request. I'm not going to repeat myself, Officer Wilburn barked, her hand still hovering near her gun. You're being detained. Carlton didn't move. He kept his hands on the trunk, calm and measured. Then I respectfully request that you call your supervisor or allow me to retrieve my ID from the vehicle. You don't make requests right now, she shot back. You wait. From the corner of his eye, Carlton saw the teenager from earlier now standing outside the truck, phone still recording. The kid's father stood beside him, arms crossed, silently observing. No one spoke, but the tension in the air was palpable, thick like the humidity rolling off the trees. "I'm not resisting," Carlton said again, slower this time, "but I do need to identify myself. I'm Lieutenant General Carlton Hayes. My identification is in my briefcase inside that car." Wilburn scoffed. "You expect me to believe that?" She let the question hang in the air for a moment. "You don't have to believe it. Just check," he replied. But she didn't check. Instead, she moved to the side, radioing something. Her voice was low, muffled by static and nerves. "Suspicious male. Possibly armed," she said, and those last words made Carlton turn his head slightly. "I'm not carrying a weapon," he said, his voice steady. Wilburn glared. "You're military, right? You people usually are." Carlton blinked slowly. "You people?" She ignored him, her focus now solely on the radio. She was asking dispatch to send backup to County Road 19, possible situation developing. Carlton didn't interrupt. His years of training had taught him that the fastest way to diffuse arrogance was to let it collapse under its own weight. He looked past her toward the truck. The man in the driver's seat now had his arms resting on the window frame, his expression shifting from passive concern to something much harder to read. The bystanders weren't just curious anymore. They were uncomfortable. "You're escalating something that doesn't need to be," Carlton said gently. "I don't need you telling me how to do my job," Wilburn snapped. "I'm asking you to do it by the book," Carlton said, his voice calm, firm. She stepped closer. "Are you threatening me?" His eyes narrowed slightly.
"No, ma'am.
"I'm advising you." Her lips curled up, a brief flash of amusement, before she grabbed for his wallet still in his back pocket. She yanked it out, flipping through it quickly, glancing at each card without really reading. Then she froze. Behind the department ID was a Pentagon-issued security clearance card, level 4. She didn't say anything for a moment. Carlton could see her jaw shift. "Where'd you get this?" she muttered. "I earned it over 30 years of service," Carlton replied. She closed the wallet and stepped back, still not far enough to admit error, still trying to hold on to control. "You could have just said that in the first place," she said, her face flushed, but not from the sun. "You still can't park here," she added, grasping for anything to hold on to. "I wasn't parked. I was pulled over, adjusting my route," he corrected her. She turned away, as if remembering something, glancing back at her cruiser. Carlton could see her weighing it all. How this looked, how the footage might show everything, or how it might leave some things out. "You'll need to wait here for the responding deputy," she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "Fine," Carlton replied, "but once he arrives, I'd like to make a phone call." She turned back to him, skeptical. "You calling your lawyer?" "No," Carlton said, his voice calm. "I'm calling the Department of Defense." She stared at him, waiting for some smirk, some punchline, but there was none. She opened her mouth to reply, but nothing came out. In the distance, a faint siren began to sound. Another unit was finally responding, but it would still be at least 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes, everything would change. This wouldn't be a quiet story swept under the rug. Too many people were already watching. The sirens grew louder, closer now, bouncing off the trees in short bursts. But Officer Wilburn wasn't waiting. Her grip on control was slipping, and she knew it. Carlton could see it in her pacing, in the way she kept glancing over her shoulder at the growing crowd near the roadside. 3 cars now, all pulled over. No one was talking, just filming. She wasn't thinking like a cop anymore. She was reacting like someone who felt cornered. "Turn around," she ordered. Carlton didn't move. "I've already identified myself. You're still interfering with a lawful investigation." "I'm not interfering," he said. "I'm standing here, unarmed and cooperating." She reached out and grabbed his wrist, twisting it. "You're resisting." He clenched his jaw, but didn't fight. "This isn't necessary." But it didn't matter. She pulled his arm behind his back, slamming the cuffs on tight. The metal dug into his wrist. Gasps echoed from the roadside. The teenager had moved closer, whispering something to his father, who didn't respond but raised his phone to start recording again.